So I got an interesting comment asking about Donald Trump because a lot of Europeans, they just don't understand what's going on in America. They look at America and they see all the tension between the different demographics and peoples of our country. And they see Donald Trump, this loud, boisterous dictator who insults people left and right, is rude, nasty, and obnoxious, and yet is still being elected as a president of the United States, both in the Electoral College and with the popular vote, which is mind-blowing, okay? Europeans are a special breed. Now, if we look at the history of Europe, for the past 500 years, Europeans have basically ruled the world, okay? They were the masters of the world. They conquered everything. They either subjugated peoples or colonized them, etc., etc. And then Europe, in the 1900s, had two massive wars where they basically destroyed themselves, okay? Absolutely destroyed themselves. And specifically in the 30s and 40s, and even in the 20s, they followed men that resembled Donald J. Trump in certain aspects. And these men ultimately led Europe into massive wars that destroyed the continent and made half of it fall under communism. So when Europeans look at Trump from their historical perspective, they see the echoes of the great dictators of the 1900s Europe. That's basically what they see. And they say, well, those dictators were bad, and Trump reminds me of those dictators. Therefore, he is just like those dictators, and he is bad, and we're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Donald Trump is not a dictator. And if you believe he's a dictator, it's because you've been deceived by the lying rat media that literally distorts everything to fit their agenda. Now, in the United States, a lot of us have figured out that the media is a bunch of freaking liars, okay? And I can tell you for a fact they're a bunch of liars, because everything they say has a negative tilt towards Donald Trump. They try to twist everything to suit their narrative, and they sprinkle half-truths in with falsehoods to deceive people and lead them down the wrong path. And I've had relationships with women that have done the same thing, so I know exactly how that works, okay? I know how they sprinkle half-truths in with lies, and people believe it. That's how it is, okay? So number one, the media is lying, 100%. I'm not saying the podcasters are perfect and everything, but you've got to understand that the media, both in Europe and around the world, are generally hyper-leftist, and they're heavily biased against Trump. Number two, just because Trump resembles some of the dictators you guys had in Europa doesn't mean he is, okay? People can, like, for example, Mustache Man. He drank water. He likes dogs. Okay, well, I drink water. I like dogs. Am I Mustache Man? No. Okay? Or am I? That doesn't mean, just because you find some similarities between people, doesn't mean that they are exactly the same or are going to pursue the same policies. And a dictatorship in the United States, it would never happen. There would be a civil war. And I think the dictator, the guy that wants to be the dictator would be overthrown, defeated, personally, because that's not part of the American spirit. So Donald Trump, the reason, he resembles the Mustache Man, he resembles Benito, but that's actually kind of normal, okay? There's men out there that are hyper-masculine, and Europeans aren't used to seeing hyper-masculine men. A hyper-masculine man doesn't censor himself. He doesn't, he says what needs to be said regardless of how it offends people. And that's what Donald Trump does. He says what he thinks. Now, Europeans are used to, at least recently, nice politicians that are very measured and politically correct, and blah, 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 because they're terrified of a new Mustache Man. But Donald Trump is not like that. And it's actually incredibly refreshing, because once you realize that most politicians are lying scumbags, I'd rather have a man that says obnoxious things that actually says what he thinks. Okay, that's hyper masculinity. You say what you think and you don't care about the consequences. Okay? He's also hyper masculine because he is a fighter. He never gives up. The amount of vitriol, hate, lawfare that has been perpetuated against that man it's crazy. I mean, think about it. How many times has he been sued? How many times has he been brought on charges? All the mockery in the media, all the reporters attacking him. And he fights and he fights and he fights, and he never backs down. And the fact that he was able to win shows you some of the positive characteristics of masculinity or hyper masculinity. So, Europe, you guys have basically been feminized, hyper feminized. You're almost the exact opposite. You people are whipped. You don't have any vitality. You don't have any spirit. You're basically a bunch of socialist underachieving worker drones that have been so broken by a bunch of wars where you tore yourselves apart that you've sunk into the depths of despair. You've basically given up on, the energy that led you to rule the world. You're a broken people. And that's not the case in the United States. We were never broken by the wars. We never suffered that greatly from the World War. I mean, we lost people, obviously, but our country was fine after the war, basically. So, that spirit of, Europe is still in the United States, which is something you guys have lost. And that's why you just don't understand Trump, because you're so terrified. You're basically slaves. You're slaves to socialism. You're slaves to political correctness. You're self-hating. You're broken. You're a sad people. And you're our brothers, okay? And it's sad. It's like you got the normal guy, and then you got the brother that's just absolutely broken. He's over the ocean. He's broken. He doesn't believe in himself anymore. He's self-hating. And it's sad. It's really sad to see, okay? Because America is an extension of Europe. But we've preserved our vitality and our strength and our belief in the future and our belief in progress. So that's kind of why Donald Trump is popular, okay? That's why he's a big deal. We got a lot of issues in the United States. People are sick of political correctness. They're sick of the lies. They're sick of the degeneracy. And I've experienced it myself. The system we have now is disgusting. And once you see the whole media democratic apparatus for what it is, a disgusting monopoly on people's minds, and you have somebody that is hyper masculine that we haven't had in a while, and you see him fight the system and win, you can't help but admire that man. So let me know, EUROPOORS. You guys think you're winning over there in Europe? Just basically, just broken people. You think you guys are crushing it? There's a reason America's still on top. And you could get your spirit back, but it's going to be a while. Okay, maybe your migration crisis just needs to be worse. Maybe that'll fix you guys, but I don't know about that. We'll see. Anyway, let me know what you think. Hit like, subscribe. Check out the pinned comment if you want me to do your taxes for 2024. I do individual and personal taxes, and I could probably beat your CPA on price. I do any state in the United States. That's right. But I don't do anybody outside the United States because I don't know your taxes outside the United States. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.